2 games remain in the regular season for St. Francis, still fighting for a spot in the conference tournament to begin in late February. Today they take on the Olivet Nazarene University Tigers in the penultimate CCAC matchup of the year. St. Francis and Olivet on its way next.
Look out. Enjoy it. With the steal, Anderson pushing it on the other end. They go along to Ruffin. It's in the air. On a dime to Ruffin. 20, 10, 5, touchdown. Aaron on the other end pushes it down just inside the line.
Welcome inside the Sullivan Center here on the campus of the University of St. Francis. Terry Bonadonna on the court talking with the head coach of the Fighting Saints, Ryan Marks. Coach, the game today against Olivet Nazarene, we look at the way the season stands right now, 2 games left. You got to win them both to have a chance at the conference tournament. You're looking to get close to 500 in the conference, and both those games here at home. What's the message to the team going into today?
Well, you know, it's I think we've been searching for consistency all year, which has been the case of a lot of teams in our league. You know, obviously we're running out of time in that search. Even the last couple of weeks, I think we've had some stretches of good basketball, and obviously we'd like to put it together, you know, in the best way we can here to finish out with a couple wins and see if we get a shot at the conference tournament.
You switched the lineup a little bit over the last couple of weeks. You put in some different starters, having some of your regular starters come off the bench. What was the reasoning behind that, and do you feel like it's provided a little boost to the team?
Yeah, I think it's helped us a little bit. I think we've been trying to get our seniors on the floor a little bit more, particularly like Jalen Jones, who hadn't played very much this year, has played a little bit. You know, Hayden Witt, Ryan Peter have played some, but along with Ian Morrison, those guys have been great guys to our program, and I think today we're going to start a few of them. We're not going to start all of them like we did. We'll bring them all back on senior day. But really, I think a little bit of a rallying point, too, for the team to try to send those guys out on a great note.
Let's talk a little bit about today's game and the opponent, Olivet Nazarene. They've kind of had a similar season to the one that you've had. In fact, you mentioned a lot of teams in conference have been a little inconsistent. You look at Olivet, back and forth, win-loss their last 6 games. What do you expect to see out of them today, and what do you think you need to do to beat them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're a very good team, and they're really almost as good as anybody in the league when they're playing well. You know, Reed is a unique scorer. I mean, he's a guy that's, you know, he's gone for over 50 once this year, but can be a 25, 30-point-a-night guy. Green's an excellent shooter. They have some really good role players in Bland, Becerra. So I think a lot of it is not allowing them to play in a comfort level. They have an excellent system of play. Their guys have a great understanding of that. And if you allow them to play comfortably, it's really problematic.
Head Coach Ryan Marks, thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it.
We've got tip-off coming up in just a few moments, so stick around. Basketball on its way on the USF Sports Network.
Being an athlete at USF has shaped my years in college, has made me grow as a person. We're always trying to push each other, definitely on and off the field. I think it is all definitely just determination to do well and become somebody. It's something that I can always look back to and tell my kids someday that I had played a sport in college and the amount of work it takes, but it's all worth it.
Back inside the Sullivan Center here on the campus of the University of St. Francis. Terry Bonadonna with you once again, joined by Mike Zaworski as we prepare for St. Francis against Olivet Nazarene University. 2 games left in the year, both of them at home, both of them big conference games, Mike, because Saints need a little help, but first things first, they know they need to win both of these games to have any shot at the conference tournament.
Yeah, that's the only way with the conference tournament it's going to happen for them. They take care of business, winning 2 games. And tonight's a huge one, obviously. Hey, you got a 50% chance. Can you take care of business in these last 2 conference games and then hope for some help from the outside teams? And Olivet, such a great rivalry through the years with St. Francis. And Olivet also trying to hold position for the conference tournament. They're at 500 in the conference as well. Neither team really burning it up overall. It's the first time that I can remember in a long, long time that you've seen a St. Francis team and an Olivet team both under 500 at this point in the season.
I was just talking to Coach Marks about it, but two very similar teams in that they've got some good talent on these squads, and both of these teams you feel could beat anybody on any given night, but they just don't do it consistently.
You know, that's one of the things. Great teams take care of business night in, night out. Average teams can beat anyone on any given night, but they can lose to anybody on any given night. And I think that kind of describes both this Olivet team and the St. Francis team. If St. Francis is shooting the ball, look out, because then all of a sudden they become even more effective by getting the ball inside to Morrison, and then you get that inside-out game going. But that consistency hasn't been their shooting. 29% from the three-point line this year for St. Francis. That ain't going to win you a lot of ball games. On the other side, Olivet with the great scorer, 24 points a game, and then the shooting outside of him gets a little more inconsistent from the perimeter. That's why Olivet's where they're at, one game below 500 as well.
Olivet's got, you mentioned Nick Reed, their big performer, 24 points per game. They're coming off of a big win. They just beat Trinity Christian over the weekend on a last-second three-pointer, gave them a 2-point victory.
Classic Olivet. Classic Olivet. Last second, they win games, and they've done that over and over and over again through the years because they've had the great three-point shooters. This year, that three-point shooting not as consistent as it has been.
They're riding high coming into today's game after that big victory, but just 9-9 in conference. A win for Olivet today would knock St. Francis out of the postseason picture as far as the conference is concerned. And for Olivet, it would give them a huge step in the right direction in trying to get it. Still a couple of teams battling for those last few spots, but the Saints know today that it's all on the line. That's got to give them a little extra juice.
You know, it does. And then you want to help to have the seniors go out on a high note as the end of the year comes around. And to send those seniors out in a positive way, boy, it'd be nice to get the next two.
We're going to get the starting lineups in just a few moments. Just 5 seconds showing on the clock right now before we're ready for the lineups and then tip-off here. St. Francis comes in 7-11 in conference, 10-17 overall. Olivet just 13-14 overall. They are 9-9 in conference. These two teams have met once before this year. Back in December, they matched up at Bourbonnais, and the Saints were victorious in that one, 71-67. So they're looking to make it a clean season sweep. We're going to turn things over right now to Dave Laquetta on the PA to introduce us to today's starters.
This time, let's introduce tonight's starting lineups. First of all, for the Tigers of ONU. At one guard spot, a sophomore, number 4, Dane Schlafly. At the other guard spot, a senior, number 10, Luis Becerra Dominguez. At one forward spot, a junior, number 5, Josiah Bland. At the other forward spot, a senior, number 22, Chris Green. Rounding out the Tiger lineup in the middle, a sophomore, number 32, Nick Reed. Tigers are coached by Mr. Ralph Hodge. And now the starting lineup for your Fighting Saints. At one guard spot, a 5'4" junior from Champaign, Illinois, number 1, Terrian Howard. At the other guard spot, a 6'3" junior from San Francisco, California, number 10, Antonio Hughes. At one forward spot, a 6'4" junior from Canberra, Australia, number 20, Petra Badalassi. And at the other forward spot, a senior from Shorewood, Illinois, number 24, Ryan Peter. Rounding out the Fighting Saint lineup in the middle, 6'9" senior from Canberra, Australia, number 42, Ian Morrison. Fighting Saints are coached by Mr. Ryan Marks.
You've met the starters for each team now. 20 minutes on the clock as we set for the first half of play. St. Francis against Olivet Nazarene. Mike, your final thoughts as we get set to start this sucker.
I have 2 words for you. Ian Morrison. Get him the dang ball. Get him the ball. And you know Olivet's going to be trying to take him away because he is their major threat. But you got to pound the ball inside to him and look to get that inside-outside game going. The guy you really want to watch in this game is Hughes. He had a great game down at Olivet. Let's see if he can do that again. You never question his defensive presence on the court because he's just so intense defensively. But you need him to take care of business offensively.
Ian Morrison wins the tip, and the Saints begin with the ball going from right to left in the first half. Olivet in purple going from left to right.
Like the start. Great start. Bingo. It's not a difficult game. Get it into Ian, let him do his things. Everything will happen from there.
Ian Morrison has been the top scorer all season for the Saints, averaging 16 points per game. 9th leading scorer in university history. And he's got the first 2 tonight. Here's Nick Reed for Olivet, missing underneath, and the rebound to Morrison.
Boy, you saw Reed just battling down low, strong as a bull down in the post, and Peter just battling him inch for inch down there. Now, if you look at this Olivet team, where they're not as consistent as they have been historically, is at the defensive end.
Hughes misses on the runner, and it's rebounded by the Tigers. Here's Dominguez streaking towards the basket, draws the contact with Ryan Peter, and a defensive foul called on Peter.
Yeah, Ryan Peter didn't need to really put his hip into him. If he just stands there, you could see him kind of taking a fall that he didn't have to take. He just kind of stands there, and it's going to be a no call, and instead he kind of tries to flop, and they call the foul on him.
So that sends Luis Becerra Dominguez, the senior guard from Seville, Spain, to the line. And he hits on the first. Dominguez, an 85% foul shooter. He's 42 for 49 on the season. And he'll get one more shot coming up to try to tie the score at 2. We've got a slight delay first.
No, it's one of those ironic twists. St. Francis pretty good from the free throw line, but they struggle shooting the ball from the field, and that's almost kind of an oxymoron, where Olivet very good at the free throw line.
Antonio Hughes holds it on the right wing and passes down into the corner to Ryan Peter as the Saints try to reclaim the lead. 2-2 just underway here. This is Morrison backing in. Ian Morrison, nice move to get around Bland, but it comes up short on the jumper, and it's rebounded by Olivet.
And Ian kind of moving away from the basket on that shot, not playing with the great strength that he usually plays with.
3-pointer from Chris Green misses, trying to secure his own rebound. He comes flying in over the back of a Saint, and a foul is called on the Tigers. It's the first on Chris Green, and it's the first on the team.
You watch this Olivet team, we're going to watch them over the course of this game, and the feel that you usually get for this game is going to be a close one before it's all done. Now they're playing 2-3. They used to usually kind of mix a little bit of this in, but they tend to be more of a man-to-man based team, switching it up against St. Francis tonight.
Saints work the ball around the perimeter. The shot clock is down under 10 seconds. Pietro Badalassi holds it at the right elbow against a double team. He fires it out to Howard. 1 on the shot clock. It's going to be a violation.
And that time, St. Francis really just kind of moving the ball around the perimeter. They finally get it into Badalassi, but a little bit late. Badalassi taking some time to make decisions there, and then they get hit with the 30-second shot clock violation.
So we remain tied at 2 minutes into the game. Nick Reed bounces once, passes it to Dominguez.
You watch Reed, and he'll go both inside, outside. And one thing St. Francis pretty doggone good at against Olivet is
misses the tip, no good, and here's Antonio Hughes coming out of it.
Is to take Olivet out of the rhythm of their offense, and they're doing that, pushing that offense a little bit further out than they like to be.
Ryan Peter holds on the outside.
You can see him trying to look for Morrison down low, wanting to get him the ball.
Badalassi tries to get Morrison the ball, and he's hit from behind by Josiah Bland. A foul called on Olivet.
Nice pass by Badalassi, keeping it low so the defense has to reach around and get called for the foul.
Hughes inbounds to Badalassi, a quick shot, no good, and the rebound goes to Green. Green wants to run, he does not have numbers, and he'll back it out. Looking inside for Reed, it's kicked out of bounds, it'll stay with Olivet.
Green also one of their better three-point shooters, and you watch him over the course of the game look for some inside-outside action for him to get shots.
It was Chris Green who hit the game-winning 3 on Saturday night against Trinity Christian. This is Green from the outside, electing not to shoot. He passes to his left. Here's Reed on the inside.
Again, this Olivet offense, watch the rhythm of it. It's very rhythmic.
Turnaround jumper from Bland, a little bit too strong, and the rebound is knocked out of bounds. Last touch by Olivet. Saints basketball tied up at 2, 16:59 to play first half, and Jordan Thornton, usually a starter for the Fighting Saints, will make his first appearance off the bench today. Ryan Peter will take a seat.
So much of Jordan Thornton, if he lets the game come to him, he's much more effective than when he forces his game. We'll watch here and see what kind of start he gets off to.
Terrian Howard around the screen. Wants another one. Passes to the rolling Pietro Badalassi, and we've got a travel call against Badalassi. So a sloppy start to this game. We're over 3 minutes in and still just one combined field goal. Came from Morrison on St. Francis's first possession.
St. Francis in their matchup.
This is John Content off the bench of Olivet, passing off to the right, getting it over to Green. Chris Green on the runner, misses well short on the floater, well defended, and here come the Saints. Terrian Howard racing up the sideline. Howard takes it into the defense, kicks it out to Antonio Hughes, and Hughes will try the 3. No good. Rebounded by Bland.
Yeah, that's a 3 that you can get pretty much any time because he was so far out.
There's a 3 that Green knocks down, and Olivet takes their first lead at 5-2.
How often do you see it where a bad shot at the one end leads to an easy opportunity at the other end? And Green, there you see the three-point shooting of him.
38% on the season. That's the first field goal for Olivet today. Their first 2 points had come from the foul line. Here's Howard on the drive. Nice stop inside, kicks it out to Badalassi. He tries the 3. Slightly off, and the rebound goes to Nick Reed.
Now they haven't gotten Ian Morrison a touch in a couple minutes. They need to get it back inside one time when they go down to the offensive end.
Drive from Dominguez. He's bumped, and a foul is called against St. Francis. Jordan Thornton picks up his first. It's the second on the team. Nick Reed is the inbounder. Reed, just a sophomore, averaging 24 points and 8 rebounds per game this year for Olivet. One of the best players in the conference. Front runner, you'd have to think, for the Conference Player of the Year award. Reed gets the pass inside, scores, and draws the foul.
Yeah, how about the job by Reed, pinning Badalassi behind him. Badalassi comes back around and tries to get the block, and Reed's just too smart for that, using his body, and now he's got a chance for the three-point play.
First foul called on Badalassi, I should say the team's third.
You watch Nick Reed in the post and just how low he gets, and he does a great job of sealing and pinning people down low.
3-point play for Nick Reed. Olivet's on an 8-0 run, and they've taken a 6-point lead as Reed is on the scoreboard for the first time tonight.
And this is the funk you see St. Francis get into offensively sometime. 5 minutes gone and only 1 basket.
They came back on their first possession. Ian Morrison out to Thornton. Antonio Hughes with 7 on the shot clock. Has it knocked out of his hands with Jordan Thornton there to pick it up. Deep 3 with the shot clock running down. Thornton knocks it down.
Yeah, where he shot that one from is not where you prefer the threes to come from, but Jordan Thornton with a good-looking shot.
Dominguez responds with a 3 of his own.
You know, both these teams don't always put it all together, and for St. Francis, you want to see them put it together both offensively and defensively.
Howard lobs it up top for Ian Morrison, and Morrison is able to lay it in. Nice assist from Terrian Howard.
And a nice play to get Morrison open down low.
Thrown away, that's a turnover. Saints basketball down by just 4. They're hanging in there early on despite a sluggish offensive start, and Garrett Jackson will come in for Ian Morrison here.
If there's one big difference as you watch this St. Francis team compared to the past few years, it's just their overall athleticism down low. A lot different than what they've had the past few years. And So they have to be more creative and more patient offensively to have good things happen for those guys.
Terrian Howard around a screen from Jackson. Pull-up jumper, rims out. Rebounded by Bland. Here comes Dane Schlafly. Looking for Nick Reed inside. We've got a whistle and a foul coming up against, I believe, Garrett Jackson. It is going to go on Jackson, but we've got a media timeout on the floor. 13:56 to play in the first half. Olivet leads St. Francis 11-7, and we'll take a quick break here. We'll be right back with more first half action. Saints trailing by 4 against the visiting Tigers on the USF Sports Network.
Loyola Medicine is the official healthcare provider for the Fighting Saints. We're committed to sports injury prevention, maintaining the health and nutrition of young athletes, and optimizing training and conditioning. Our team includes fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeons, primary care and emergency medicine physicians, licensed physical therapists, and certified athletic trainers. Our sports medicine program offers day, evening, and weekend availabilities. Caring for body and soul is unique, and it's uniquely Loyola.
13:56 to go in the first half. Mike, the Saints trail by 4, but they're starting to get going a little bit offensively.
Well, you know, you have Jordan Thornton go out there and hit his first shot, the 3 from deep. And that's a good sign with Jordan Thornton, because when he gets on a run offensively, he can put up some numbers. You hope he can do that within the context of the offense, and that's the major battle for him. You're going to find that battle, that balance between getting him the basketball and getting Morrison the basketball down low.
Thornton has 13.6 points per game on his stat sheet for the year, but just a 28% three-point shooter. And more often than not, St. Francis is going to get their best looks from the outside on a possession after Morrison has touched the ball. Morrison not in the game right now. Garrett Jackson and Hayden Witt are in the front court along with Ryan Peter. Terrian Howard, Jordan Thornton are the guards. Ball goes into Luis Dominguez. And Dominguez's pass is taken away. Howard jumped into the lane. Now going the other way, he's fouled.
Nice play by Howard, drawing the foul down at the basket. And it looked for a second like it was going to take it straight in. It's the move at the last second to draw the foul. And 2 shots.
First from Howard, bounces off the front iron and rolls in. First point of the game for the junior Terrian Howard. Saints are within 3 with 13:48 to play in the half. And he hits them both.
Nice play by Howard playing the pass. St. Francis
Schlafly
right now in their matchup.
Schlafly having some trouble on this possession, but he holds on. Bounce down low, reverse layup is good, and that is the first for Luke Tuttle.
Olivet's offense forcing St. Francis to run around a lot defensively, and they were able to break it down off the dribble as the run around was taking place.
Thornton drives and kicks, and it's intercepted.
Again, you talk about Jordan Thornton. He does the shot, but they're trying to force offense that wasn't there. Just let the offense do its thing.
John Contant swings it around to the left side. Misses on the 3. Howard, shortest man on the floor, comes down with the rebound. And the crowd, now he streaks down the floor, misses the rebounded by Reed.
And Howard had number 3-on-2, and
Dominguez misses the 3. Gets his own rebound, back up with it, and he lays it in.
Yeah, offensive rebound. Those are mistakes you just can't make.
Ryan Peter holds it for St. Francis. The right wing, Terrian Howard. Thornton to Garrett Jackson, 12 on the shot clock. And an offensive foul is called on Jordan Thornton, trying to fight through a screen there.
Again, let the offense do its thing. You don't have to force it. They had the rhythm of the offense going. They had it to the high post, which is a very difficult position to guard. All the options are open, and then you get called for the push-off. Just let the offense work.
Here's Schlafly off to Dominguez. Dominguez drives down the center lane. Hayden Witt comes in from behind, but Dominguez able to lay it in over him. Nice start today for Dominguez. He's got 9 points already.
And there's no way that you should give up a drive that easy to the basket. Nobody near Dominguez on the play, and that's just too easy.
Dominguez originally from Spain, but he transferred over to Olivet after St. Joseph's College in Indiana.
There you go.
And here's Ryan Peter hitting the three.
And there's where you talk about the offense doing its thing. Olivet defender comes underneath the double screen, and they hammer him because of it.
Green bounces it down low. Nick Reed banks it in, but an offensive foul called first. Reed called for the charge. And it's an Olivet turnover as Morrison checks back in for Jackson.
Nice job defensively getting in position to take that charge. Anytime you watch Reed, he always leans in on everything around the basket. He's superb at doing that. And the defender doing a nice job of stepping in, knowing that he was going to lead in and taking the charge.
The freshman Gabe Harris makes his first appearance of the game. Harris walks it off to the right side and passes back to Hayden Witt. Peter to Thornton. Jordan Thornton tries for three, a little bit short. Rebound knocked out of bounds by Olivet. It'll stay with the Fighting Saints. Just over 11 minutes to play in the half. St. Francis has not gotten off to a hot start offensively, but they're hanging around.
Get the ball to Ian. Get him a touch here.
They don't get anybody a touch as Schlafly jumps into the lane and steals the pass, but he misses an open layup on the other end. Gets it right back. Olivet will set up the offense. Nick Reed kicks it out. 3-ball Green. No. Rebound to Harris. Gabe Harris working quickly. Picks up his dribble and hands it off to Hayden Witt. Saints will set up the half court.
You know, you look at the last 4 or 5 possessions, and Jordan Thornton, watch what he's doing. I like this, getting inside to Morrison right back. Nice offense.
Morrison
Bingo.
working against Bland, misses from underneath, but the rebound is tapped out to Gabe Harris, and the Saints will try again.
Great offense. Inside, outside, they come right back to Morrison again.
Ian Morrison, amidst some contact, misses that shot and lost out of bounds.
Well, it sure looked like there was a serious contact on that one that affected his shot. Ian Morrison from 3 feet doesn't usually shoot the ball and not hit the rim or anything.
Tough defense right there from Olivet. Morrison didn't give much of an argument to the official, so he's just going to play on. And now we do have a whistle on this end of the floor. It goes against Morrison, a defensive foul. I didn't see what happened there. Morrison was lying on the ground, but there was some contact.
Yeah, I couldn't quite see it from our angle here.
So Ian Morrison's called for his first foul. That's always a tough one. He's the guy who's struggled throughout his career to stay out of foul trouble. Inbounds pass goes to Bland. Swung around into the corner. This is content. Chris Green puts it on the floor. Bounces to Nick Reed, and Reed has an open layup.
Yeah, you break down off the dribble. The help rotates over, and just a beautiful bounce pass down low to Reed, and you know he's going to complete that.
Foul called as Schlafly reached in on Gabe Harris, and Schlafly's called for his first.
Well, you'd like to see Hughes and Badalasi pick it up coming back off the bench. Early on, they struggled a little bit, and they need the scoring from these two guys if they intend to win this basketball game.
Gabe Harris receives the inbounds pass. It's bounced over to Ian Morrison. Morrison on the outside.
Olivet in that 2-3 zone again.
Out to Ryan Peter, open three, a little bit short. Rebound off of somebody's foot, it looked like. It rolls calmly into the hands of Peter.
There's an offensive rebound you aren't going to see every day.
The easiest one Peter's ever had. Ian Morrison backing down, up with the left hand, can't get the roll. Morrison's having a tough day inside.
Good look, and he's just got to knock those down.
Nick Reed steps into a three-pointer, drains it.
Yeah, you can see just the rhythm of Reed stepping right into that one, totally in rhythm on the shot, and a nice-looking shot by Reed for three.
Biggest lead of the game for Olivet. Morrison gets it in the post. Out to Peter. Bounced right back to Ian. Morrison turns around and travels. Morrison's just having a tough time of it right now. They're trying to get him the ball these last few possessions, but it's been well defended. Luis Becerra Dominguez is back in for Olivet. Got off to a hot start with 9 points.
Yeah, Morrison's just not getting on track early on here. One thing with this St. Francis team, though, you just all of a sudden they can start shooting the ball, and boom, they'll be right back in the basketball game.
That's Josiah Bland knocking down the jumper from just inside the free throw line. 7 straight points for Olivet. And a whistle away from the ball. We got a foul on the Tigers. That's Chris Green's second foul. That's a costly one for one of the leading scorers for Olivet Nazarene. He's picked up his second foul with 8.5 minutes to play in the first half, and he'll head to the bench. They'll call on Zach Tuxhorn instead.
Yeah, Green brings great athleticism and energy to the court, and that's taking him out of the basketball game is a loss for Olivet.
See if St. Francis can make some hay with him. Pietro Badalassi turns around and throws it over the right hand and misses. Rebound to Antonio Hughes, and the Saints will try again.
Now the Saints have had their opportunities, just unable to capitalize. Had some offensive rebound opportunities, some nice looks down low, and just haven't been able to knock them down.
Morrison streaks to the hoop and lays it in. Nice move by Morrison. He's got 6.
Boy, you like the drop step from the high post, read the defense, and just boom, one dribble and knocks down the layup. A nice move by Morrison.
Nick Reed along the baseline, kicks it outside. Content over to Dominguez.
I like the matchup with Hughes and Reed.
Hughes called for the foul on Nick Reed. And that's the 7th on the team, so it'll send Nick Reed to the free throw line.
Team 7.
Yeah, you won't see Reed come out of the game very much.
Reed will get a 1-and-1 opportunity here.
84% from the line, 44% from 3, 60% from the field. Pretty nice numbers.
And don't forget, he averages 8 rebounds a game too, so he gets involved pretty much everywhere. He makes the first free throw, giving him another.
You watch this kid work down low, and then he steps outside and just has a great sense for the game, where to go and what to do.
Just 1 of 2 this time, and a foul is called on John Content, battling for the rebound. That's the 7th on Olivet, so St. Francis will go to the free throw line.
Very tightly officiated game.
Yeah, you don't often see in the first half both teams in the bonus with this much time left.
And you kind of like it like that, because some of these games, the officials let it go, and I mean, it starts getting seriously physical down low just by the nature of what these two teams and programs are.
Badalassi misses the front end of the 1-and-1. Olivet comes away with it.
Badalassi having trouble getting into his rhythm here. He was out for 4 games due to injury and just unable to get it going in the first half early.
Dominguez to Schlafly. Schlafly drives with the left hand, blocked by Gabe Harris. Good defense by Harris. I think he got a piece of that one. If not, at least got his hand in the way of it. Badalassi out to Ryan Peter, right back into Pietro.
Love the offense. Love the offense.
Backing down on Reed, puts it up with the right hand and misses. Rebound tapped around. Badalassi pulls it in. Antonio Hughes, open 3. No good. Rebounded by Reed.
You know, as a coach, there's not a lot you can say to your players other than knock down the shots. You know, you keep doing what you're doing. You just have to knock them home.
Olivet leads by 11, trying to add to it. It's Reed trying another 3 and hitting it. Nick Reed's got 12.
As very consistent, very consistent.
Reed and Dominguez have combined on 21 points for Olivet tonight. St. Francis stuck on 14 as a team so far. Looking to add to it right here. It's Hughes on the drive. Hughes up with the left hand and in.
And that's where Hughes is at his best, is coming off, moving, getting that pass, and then making that penetration to the basket.
3-point attempt, John Content, and now the Tigers are starting to get hot from the outside.
Content coming out of Stagg High School. That's the way he shot the ball in high school and carrying over to his college career as well.
Hughes bounced over to Badalassi. Looking for Ian Morrison down low. We've got a whistle. And a foul is called offensively on Morrison for grabbing the arm of the defender. That's the second foul on Morrison.
Ian Morrison looking around saying, hey, what did I do? But bottom line is he gets called for the foul, and now some of those easy baskets that St. Francis had a shot at making early on really hurting them as they trailed by 15.
Well, we got 5:41 to go in the first half. Saints struggling at the moment, down by those 15 points, 31-16. Let's talk a little bit about Ryan Marks and his keys to the game today, and we'll see how well the Saints have pulled them off so far. And the big one for him, and it's always a big one for Ryan Marks, it's always Ian Morrison. The number one right there, interior scoring, and number three, rebound. They're certainly rebounding. They're just not capitalizing on those second chances.
Yeah, all those offensive rebounds they've had, and Olivet's given them plenty of opportunities. And the problem is when you don't score, you can look bad defensively. And Olivet taking advantage at the other end from all the misses, both in transition and running their stuff. And you have to put the biscuit in the basket. And right now, St. Francis not doing that. That interior scoring not happening, and the perimeter scoring not happening either. And when you don't do neither, the result is what you're seeing on the scoreboard.
And as for the other key, playing physical without fouling, they're not really doing that. But as you were just saying, Mike, it's kind of tough in this game. The referees are calling it pretty tight.
They've called it very tightly in this contest, and you know that as a player and what to expect. It's not like it's going to be anything that's going to fool you. Olivet doing a nice job right now getting Reed out of the game and giving him a 1-minute blow here. And believe me, he's going to be back pretty doggone quick.
Ryan Marks, on the other hand, has decided to stick with Ian Morrison, playing with 2 fouls. So he'll have to be careful. Down by 15, they just can't afford to have their leading scorer on the bench right now. Here's Dane Schlafly. Bland gets it inside, kick back out to Green. Green's playing with 2 fouls. Shot clock at 7. Schlafly works his way to the right, picked up by Badalassi. Shot clock at 3.
Nice job by Badalassi jumping out on that play. And there's a good defensive sequence by St. Francis. Early on, you weren't seeing that intensity, but as that possession started to pick up, you saw better defensive intensity, and they don't have Reed in the game, so they didn't have him to fall back onto. And you see how much of a different team Olivet is without him on the court.
So the shot clock violation leads to St. Francis possession, down by 15 points, under 5 minutes to play in the half. Ian Morrison in the post, backs down, spins to the basket. He lays it in, and 8 points now for Ian Morrison.
And a nice move by Morrison down low. He likes that spin and coming back to that right shoulder, and a good move.
This is Dominguez.
See if St. Francis can put 2 defensive possessions together.
Tuttle for 3. Well off, and it's rebounded by Jordan Thornton. Saints are on the move. This is Antonio Hughes trying to get around Green. Hughes works his way to the rim and lays it in. Nice drive by Antonio Hughes.
And a good job by Morrison to slow down that transition game of Olivet.
Here's Dominguez. Off to Tuttle. Inside, a little hook shot is good from Josiah Bland.
That's a nice looking shot, and it's you can't stop the hook shot. You can't stop the hook shot. A good move by him. And St. Francis giving up size at that position defensively, and a nice shot by him to get the 2 points.
Terrian Howard working his way around a couple of defenders. Back out to Antonio Hughes. Bounce low for Morrison. Ian Morrison working on Bland. Dishes it to Pietro Badalassi. No, Morrison gets it back, and he's turned away. Schlafly on the other end, out to a wide open Chris Green. 3 ball, no, rebounded by Badalassi.
Some transition going on both ways, and a good decision by St. Francis. 1-on-4 ain't going to cut it in the transition game.
This is Badalassi, and he is fouled.
He's the guy that has to get on track here. Just unable to get it going in the first half so far, and maybe getting to the free throw line, getting an easy opportunity to get him going offensively.
Badalassi, a good free throw shooter, but he missed his only attempt in today's game. He makes this one, giving him one more.
See Badalassi putting his hands out like, dang, it's about time.
First point of the game for Pietro Badalassi. Junior from Canberra, Australia. Transferred in this year after spending last season at Marist College in Maine. He makes one of two.
Reed back in the game.
In and out, rebounded by Hughes. Saints outscored the Tigers 5-2 with Reed out. Jordan Thornton working quickly, misses on the run.
Offensive foul.
Morrison gets the rebound and called for the offensive foul. That's his third.
No question, just shoved him with the shoulder. It's a good call. Just go straight up with the shot. You don't just straight up with the shot. He's 6'8", 6'9", bigger than everybody else on the court. Just go up, put it off the glass, and shoot the basketball.
St. Francis calls a timeout. They trail by 12, 2:45 to play in the first half. And they left Morrison in with 2 fouls, but I think we'll see him take the bench now with 3. Quick shot from Jordan Thornton. And
don't even mess around. He goes straight up with that shot, and it's not even an issue, you know. And it was clearly he just dropping that shoulder and sending him into the 4th row with the tuba player. So
it's a little bit of trouble now for St. Francis as Garrett Jackson has to check back in. Morrison has done a lot of their scoring. 8 out of their 21 points have come from that senior center. So they're going to have to find something from somebody else at this point just to stay in the game into halftime.
Well, it's funny looking at that bench without Ralph Hodge here tonight. Thought he was down in the locker room before the game. Thought he just didn't come up, but apparently something going on. You just hope everything's okay with Ralph Hodge. Been at Olivet since dirt was invented.
Olivet Nazarene assisted by Nick Berkey, Alex Thorson, and Michael Harrison, and working well today with the reserve crew.
You know, you look at Tony Graves in the picture there for St. Francis in the black and white, and Tony with Ryan Marks quite a few years now. And one thing as an assistant coach, you feel the same frustrations as the head coach does when some things aren't going right and you're working with those guys day in and day out. However, you don't have totally the same frustrations as the head coach because it still comes down. Everything reflects back on the head coach. And Ryan Marks just handling it so well in a very tough season for the Saints.
Schlafly's able to break the press and get across midcourt. He backs it up with Antonio Hughes guarding him.
There's some quickness on quickness with these two.
Schlafly gets around Hughes, but Hughes recovers and blocks him from behind out of bounds.
A great block by Hughes. One, you don't like him getting beaten off the dribble that easy. But two, you never saw the defense react to get over and help.
Inbounded to Dominguez. Dominguez trying to give it up to Schlafly. The ball loose. Schlafly ends up with it and pulls it out of the pack. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Pull-up jumper from Green from the elbow. And a loose ball foul is called on Olivet.
And they have called it consistently very tight throughout this contest.
That's the second on Nick Reed. He's going to come out of the game. Luke Tuttle hops up, and we'll see if the Saints are able to make a little run over the final 2:16 without Reed on the floor.
You really want to see them capitalize on this when he's out of the basketball game.
Badalassi makes the first of 2 free throws. Both teams now in the double bonus.
And it looks like Badalassi finally starting to find some rhythm at the free throw line and in the game.
3 points for Badalassi, all of them from the line. And the Saints go back to this full court press, but again, Schlafly's able to break it. Josiah Bland pulls it out.
Right now, pushing that Olivet defense out further than the offense out further than they like to be to get into what they do.
Bland in the post, stripped from behind. Ball picked up initially by Tuttle, but now loose once again, and Terrion Howard comes away with it. Saints can cut the deficit to single digits here. Thornton is bumped. He throws the ball up and gets it lodged in the rim. And he'll have 2 free throws.
And this is good for St. Francis, taking advantage as Reed is out of the lineup. And You see the transition game getting going for St. Francis and pushing the ball up the court, and Jordan Thornton with a chance to cut that down to the lead down to single digits.
The shot is good from Thornton. Saints really gaining some ground right now at the free throw line. They've done a good job of getting there consistently. Down by only 9 points with 1:47 to play in the first half. Thornton hits 1 of 2, and it's rebounded by Josiah Bland. This is Schlafly, bouncing it low to Bland. There's some contact, a man down, and a foul called on St. Francis.
Trying to take the charging foul. That's the energy that Hughes brings to the basketball court. He just makes you work at everything. That was interesting. You saw an elbow in there too.
It's the second foul on Hughes.
Didn't see it from the angle we were sitting at, but as you watch that replay, you saw that elbow fly, and one of those difficult calls. Which way do you go?
Multiple players now on both teams have at least 2 fouls. Hughes and Morrison both in foul trouble for St. Francis. Olivet has both Chris Green and Nick Reed, their 2 leading scorers, currently on the bench with 2 fouls. Morrison's actually got 3 of them for the Fighting Saints. This is Garrett Jackson passing it out to Terrion Howard. Thornton, 3 on the shot clock, loses the ball. He's got to give it up quickly to Batalassi, who throws it up at the buzzer. No good. Rebounded by Olivet. Final minute of the half. Here comes Schlafly.
Nice job by Hughes to get back and take away the transition game that Olivet had in place.
Schlafly fires it inside for Bland, and a whistle blows. A foul called against the Fighting Saints.
And that's what Olivet does so well. And St. Francis had the offensive player pushed up the lane line. Just let him get the ball, because he's that far up. He's not going to be as effective as he would be another step down, but instead gets called for the foul on the push.
First free throw for Bland is good. He's got 1 more. The second foul on Garrett Jackson. So now there are 5 total players in this game with at least 2 fouls.
Well, St. Francis had it into single digits at the free throw line, had it down to 9, chance to cut it to 8, and all of a sudden it's back up to 13 again.
I make it 6 players because Jordan Thornton has 2 fouls as well. So there are 4 players on the Fighting Saints right now, and 2 on Olivet with at least 2 fouls here in the first half. And there's a turnover. Jordan Thornton throws it away. Miscommunication. Nobody there to receive the pass. It's a turnover, and Nick Reed will come back in for what is most likely the final offensive possession of the half for Olivet.
The old theory, pass with your feet on the ground. Jordan Thornton off the dribble, jumps up in the air, and then at the last second has to find somebody to pass to, and nobody's there.
Here's Schlafly. 6 seconds between the shot and the game clock right now. And there's another whistle. This is going to go against the offense. That's on Josiah Bland. It's Bland's second foul. I can't remember the last time I saw a game in which there were 7 players in the first half with at least 2 fouls.
Hey, you know what the officials are calling out there, so they've called it tight throughout, especially inside. And these games with Olivet and St. Francis, traditionally very, very physical down low, and they have called it tight from the start. And don't be surprised when your number gets called.
It has certainly been consistent. A lot of fouls called in the early going today. St. Francis down by 13 points with the final chance to score before halftime. Terrion Howard holds it half court. It'll go at about 8 seconds. He passes off to Ryan Peter. Right back to Howard, 5 seconds. Howard still holding outside. Terrion Howard now starts to drive. 1 second left, he throws it up, no good. The tip-in came in a little bit late, and that's how the first half will end. St. Francis trails Olivet Nazarene 37-24 after 20 minutes of basketball.
Yeah, that last play just too slow developing, just too slow. You needed to go a little bit sooner, and St. Francis, again, with the lead down into single digits, and then things kind of came off the rail for a second there, and it ends up back at 13. And they're going to have to make some baskets in the second half. They had some great opportunities and just unable to capitalize on them.
So a big climb ahead of the Saints. Two games remain in the regular season for St. Francis, still fighting for a spot in the conference tournament to begin in late February. Today they take on the Olivet Nazarene University Tigers in the penultimate CCAC matchup of the year. St. Francis and Olivet on its way next.
Enjoy it.
With the steal, Anderson pushes it on the other end. They go along to Ruffin. It's in the air. On a dime to Ruffin. 20, 10, 5, touchdown. Aaron on the other end pushes it down just inside the line.
Welcome inside the Sullivan Center here on the campus of the University of St. Francis. Terry Bonadonna on the court talking with the head coach of the Fighting Saints, Ryan Marks. Coach, the game today against Olivet Nazarene, we look at the way the season stands right now, 2 games left. You got to win them both to have a chance at the conference tournament. You're looking at get close to 500 in the conference, and both those games here at home. What's the message to the team going into today?
Well, you know, it's I think we've been searching for consistency all year, which has been the case of a lot of teams in our league. You know, obviously we're running out of time in that search. Even the last couple of weeks, I think we've had some stretches of good basketball, and obviously we'd like to put it together, you know, in the best way we can here to finish out with a couple wins and see if we get a shot at the conference tournament.
You switched the lineup a little bit over the last couple of weeks. You put in some different starters, having some of your regular starters come off the bench. What was the reasoning behind that, and do you feel like it's provided a little boost to the team?
Yeah, I think it's helped us a little bit. I think we've been trying to get our seniors on the floor a little bit more, particularly like Jalen Jones, who hadn't played very much this year, has played a little bit. You know, Hayden Witt, Ryan Peter have played some, but along with Ian Morrison, those guys have been great guys to our program, and I think today we're going to start a few of them. We're not going to start all of them like we did. We'll bring them all back on senior day. But really, I think a little bit of a rallying point, too, for the team to try to send those guys out on a great note.
Let's talk a little bit about today's game and the opponent, Olivet Nazarene. They've kind of had a similar season to the one that you've had. In fact, you mentioned a lot of teams in conference have been a little inconsistent. Look at Olivet, back and forth, win-loss, their last 6 games. What do you expect to see out of them today, and what do you think you need to do to beat them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're a very good team, and they're really almost as good as anybody in the league when they're playing well. You know, Reed is a unique scorer. I mean, he's a guy that's, you know, he's gone for over 50 once this year, but can be a 25, 30 point a night guy. Green's an excellent shooter. They have some really good role players in Bland, Becerra. So I think a lot of it is not allowing them to play in a comfort level. They have an excellent system of play. Their guys have a great understanding of that. And if you allow them to play comfortably, it's really problematic.
Head coach Ryan Marks, thanks for your Two games remain in the regular season for St. Francis, still fighting for a spot in the conference tournament to begin in late February. Today they take on the Olivet Nazarene University Tigers in the penultimate CCAC matchup of the year. St. Francis and Olivet on its way next.
Enjoy it.
With the steal, Anderson pushes it on the other end. They go along to Ruffin. It's in the air. On a dime to Ruffin. 20, 10, 5, touchdown. Aaron on the other end pushes it down just inside the line.
Welcome inside the Sullivan Center here on the campus of the University of St. Francis. Terry Bonadonna on the court talking with head coach of the Fighting Saints, Ryan Marks. Coach, the game today against Olivet Nazarene, we look at the way the season stands right now, 2 games left. You got to win them both to have a chance at the conference tournament. You're looking to get close to 500 in the conference, and both those games here at home. What's the message to the team going into today?
Well, it's I think we've been searching for consistency all year, which has been the case of a lot of teams in our league. Obviously we're running out of time in that search. Even the last couple of weeks, I think we've had some stretches of good basketball, and obviously we'd like to put it together, in the best way we can here to finish out with a couple wins and see if we get a shot at the conference tournament.
You switched the lineup a little bit over the last couple of weeks. You put in some different starters, having some of your regular starters come off the bench. What was the reasoning behind that, and do you feel like it's provided a little boost to the team?
Yeah, I think it's helped us a little bit. I think we've been trying to get our seniors on the floor a little bit more, particularly like Jalen Jones, who hadn't played very much this year, has played a little bit. Hayden Witt, Ryan Peter have played some, but along with Ian Morrison, those guys have been great guys to our program, and I think today we're going to start a few of them. We're not going to start all of them like we did. We'll bring them all back on senior day. But really, I think a little bit of a rallying point, too, for the team to try to send those guys out on a great note.
Let's talk a little bit about today's game and the opponent, Olivet Nazarene. They've kind of had a similar season to the one that you've had. In fact, you mentioned a lot of teams in conference have been a little inconsistent. Look at Olivet, back and forth, win-loss their last 6 games. What do you expect to see out of them today, and what do you think you need to do to beat them?
Yeah, obviously they're
Two games remain in the regular season for St. Francis, still fighting for a spot in the conference tournament to begin in late February. Today they take on the Olivet Nazarene University Tigers in the penultimate CCAC matchup of the year. St. Francis and Olivet on its way next.
Enjoy it.
With the steal, Anderson pushing it on the other end. They go along to Ruffin. It's in the air. On a dime to Ruffin. 20, 10, 5, touchdown. Aaron on the other end pushes it down just inside the line.
Welcome inside the Sullivan Center here on the campus of the University of St. Francis. Terry Bonadonna on the court talking with head coach of the Fighting Saints, Ryan Marks. Coach, the game today against Olivet Nazarene, we look at the way the season stands right now, 2 games left. You got to win them both to have a chance at the conference tournament. You're looking to get close to 500 in the conference, and both those games here at home. What's the message to the team going into today?
Well, I think we've been searching for consistency all year, which has been the case of a lot of teams in our league. Obviously we're running out of time in that search. Even the last couple of weeks, I think we've had some stretches of good basketball, and obviously we'd like to put it together, in the best way we can here to finish out with a couple wins and see if we get a shot at the conference tournament.
You switched the lineup a little bit over the last couple of weeks. You put in some different starters, having some of your regular starters come off the bench. What was the reasoning behind that, and do you feel like it's provided a little boost to the team?
Yeah, I think it's helped us a little bit. I think we've been trying to get our seniors on the floor a little bit more, particularly like Jalen Jones, who hadn't played very much this year, has played a little bit. Hayden Witt, Ryan Peter have played some, but along with Ian Morrison, those guys have been great guys to our program, and I think today we're going to start a few of them. We're not going to start all of them like we did. We'll bring them all back on senior day. But really, I think a little bit of a rallying point, too, for the team to try to send those guys out on a great note.
Let's talk a little bit about today's game and the opponent, Olivet Nazarene. They've kind of had a similar season to the one that you've had. In fact, you mentioned a lot of teams in conference have been a little inconsistent. Look at Olivet, back back and forth, win-loss their last 6 games. What do you expect to see out of them today, and what do you think you need to do to beat them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're a very good team, and they're really almost as good as anybody in the league when they're playing well. You know, Reed is a unique scorer. I mean, he's a guy that's, you know, he's gone for over 50 once this year, but can be a 25, 30 point a night guy. Green's an excellent shooter. They have some guys, some really good role players in Bland, Becerra. So I think a lot of it is not allowing them to play in a comfort level. They have an excellent system of play. Their guys have a great.
We are nearly ready to start the second half between St. Francis and Olivet Nazarene. Back inside the Sullivan Center, Terry Bonadonna along with Mike Zaworski. And talking about a somewhat disappointing first half, Mike, if you look at the numbers, they're pretty even in most categories. And the one thing that stands out to you, Saints just haven't been able to put the ball in the basket.
It's not a difficult game. You got to put the biscuit in the basket. In the first half, the Saints shoot 29.6% from the floor, 28.6% from 3. That ain't going to win you basketball games. And defensively, they haven't been bad. The problem is your defense looks worse than it really is because you can't score at the offensive end. So you don't really get a chance to set up your defense, and it's just Ryan Marks doing great stuff. It's the same stuff he's run in the past few years when they've had such good things happen for them. Bottom line is you got to put the biscuit in the basket.
And they've had some good looks as well. We pointed to one thing on the score sheet after that first half, and something that we noticed while it was happening as well. They're getting a lot of second chances for themselves, 6 offensive rebounds, but they've only got 2 second chance points.
Yeah, and again, just capitalizing on what's there. I thought they did a really nice job of pushing the ball inside to Ian Morrison, but Ian kind of doing some things that you don't like to see in the low post, dropping that shoulder, trying to knock the defense back and create space for him, when with his size, just go up and over him because they can't stop you. He's just too big. And I think maybe the coaches might have said something, just take it right up. Don't worry about trying to create space for yourself to get your shot off.
One thing to keep an eye on as this game progresses, who's actually on the floor. A lot of players in foul trouble right now. For St. Francis, Ian Morrison's got 3 fouls, 2 apiece for Antonio Hughes, Jordan Thornton, and Garrett Jackson. And for Olivet, Chris Green's got 3 fouls, 2 apiece for Josiah Bland, Nick Reed, and John Contant. So if players continue to be in foul trouble, we may see some different personnel on the floor as we continue here. Olivet has the ball to start the second half. They've flipped sides, and Antonio Hughes comes away with a strip of Josiah Bland on the first possession. Howard on the other end is able to lay it in. Nice start to the half.
And one of the nice things about transition like that, and you see St. Francis picking up the pressure, trying to create pick up the pace of the game. You like that transition because it gives you opportunities for easier baskets when the Saints struggle in the half court.
Bland misses the baseline jumper, and here's Badalassi coming away with the rebound. Ahead to Howard. Howard finds Antonio Hughes, decides not to shoot, jump stop in the lane, throws it up, and draws another foul.
And again, Olivet never able to get their defense set because of the transition game. And here we go. Totally different than the start of this ball game when St. Francis had 2 points on the board after 5 minutes. And here they come out in the second half aggressive, pushing the ball up in transition.
First free throw misses from Antonio Hughes, and we've got an early substitution as Josiah Bland has picked up his 3rd foul. He'll be replaced here by Luke Tuttle.
When St. Francis played down at Olivet, Hughes having such a great game down there and unable to get it really going here tonight.
Makes the second free throw for his 5th point.
And hopefully that free throw will help pick him up.
Green along the baseline. Puts it up over Badalassi, no good, but an offensive rebound. Nick Reed misses the putback, gets it again, and scores on his 3rd chance.
And you can see Ian Morrison afraid to go after the basketball because he doesn't want to pick up that 4th foul.
Nick Reed's now got 14 points for the game. At 12 at the half, halfway to his average of 24.
Olivet sticking in that 2-3.
Badalassi all alone underneath, an easy layup.
Boy, it's like watching a different team out there this half right now.
Nick Reed loses control of the ball, knocked out of bounds by Antonio Hughes. It'll stay with Olivet.
You like the pace of this game. It's picked up in the second half, and that's a good thing for St. Francis rather than methodically trying to grind it out.
Howard going for the steal, can't pull it in. There's a 3 attempt from Green, and he rattles it home.
And you know, that's one thing. You take that attempt on the steal, and that's going to come back to bite you. But that's what St. Francis got to do to get back into this basketball game, try to pick up their aggressiveness.
Ian Morrison facing up and knocking it down over Nick Reed.
Beautiful thing. Yeah, you ain't going to stop it. Just shoot the basketball over the top of them.
That's 10 points for Morrison. 3-pointer is good for Green. He's starting to heat up. 2 in a row for Green. He's got 9.
You know, Green kind of that herky-jerky shot, but boy, he gets the going and on a roll and knocks it home.
Morrison in the post. Guarded by Nick Reed. Kicks it out to Hughes. Antonio Hughes drives, pulls up in the lane, and passes back out to Morrison. Morrison trying to make it happen off the dribble, but he walked.
The old European thing. If he watches it on film, he's going to realize that he traveled. He's looking over going, hey, what did I do? You did, son.
He's not a guy who's put in that position all that often to try to drive. Tigers break the press. Green tries another 3. Short this time, but he gets his own rebound.
Now, it's the second part of that you don't want to see. Giving up the offensive board.
Tuttle down into the corner, and there's a travel on Dominguez. So back-to-back travels, 1 for each side, 17:22 to play in the game, and the Saints have the ball for as well as they've played on offense this second half. They've got the same deficit now, actually 1 point greater than it was at halftime.
Now that's given up those wide open 3s to Green, but I like the pace of the game for St. Francis much better.
3-pointer misses for Ryan Peter, and the rebound goes to Tuttle. Tuttle off to the right side. Green passes on the 3 this time, takes it inside, misses on the 2-point jumper, and Ryan Peter comes away with it. Peter ahead to Howard, and Howard slows it down. Down in the post, it's Badalassi, back out to Howard. He'll try a 3. No good. Rebound Ryan Peter.
And another offensive rebound, and
Morrison has the ball right underneath, and he draws the foul.
like what Morrison's doing here in the second half down low offensively. See if they can get him the basketball again in a scoring position.
Second foul on Tuttle. Jordan Thornton comes in for Ryan Peter for the Fighting Saints. Thornton is the inbounder. Right into Ian Morrison. This is Badalassi working his way inside. Badalassi hoists it up, no good. Offensive rebound, Morrison, no on the putback.
He's got to knock that home.
Tuttle out to Schlafly and worked around to the left side. Green looking underneath for Nick Reed, but Badalassi jumps in front and takes it away.
And that's a classic example of Olivet's rhythm on offense, what they want to do.
Nice drive. Hughes can't finish. There's Morrison with the second chance.
You like the way Morrison took that one up. He's so comfortable with that left hand. Much better and stronger than the one on the previous possession.
Schlafly bounces to Nick Reed. Now a drive, reverse layup misses from Luis Becerra Dominguez. Here come the Saints. Terry and Howard pushing the pace. Howard bounces to Badalassi underneath the hoop. Badalassi lays it in.
And Howard really getting that transition game going, pushing the basketball up for St. Francis. And it's like you're watching two different basketball teams with the energy St. Francis has brought to the basketball court. Now that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because you're putting so much energy into cutting that lead down. You hope they have legs left at the end of the game if they can get it to where it's a close game down the stretch.
Well, when you look at a team like St. Francis that doesn't shoot the three-pointer well, you fall behind early. This is really the only way to get back into it. You've got to start forcing turnovers and get on the move.
Yeah, and just get easy baskets, and that's where you see them running. They're getting some easy opportunities, so they got to keep that pressure up. Where they're going to get hurt to a certain degree is when they start to go into that bench, unless some of those guys come off the bench to pick it up. And here's one of the guys that's really gotten it going for St. Francis, pushing the ball up. And you saw two players, defenders, converge right to him, and they get the easy layup because of it.
10-point game, 15.5 minutes to play. Olivet in possession here, trying to get it in against the press. They do. This is Nick Reed guarded by Badalassi. Garrett Jackson in the game for Ian Morrison. Morrison with those 3 fouls, getting a little rest. Here's Reed passing outside. 11 on the shot clock.
Look at Badalassi battling Reed down low.
Dominguez stripped by Jackson, but he gets it right back, flips it to Schlafly in the corner. He misses the rim, and that's a shot clock violation.
And a great defensive possession. One of the things, Olivet doesn't want to put the ball on the deck. The more you can force them to put the ball on the deck, the better. Everything they do is rhythmic offensively, and that time St. Francis playing good D and forcing them to put the ball down.
I think they're not sure if it hit the rim or not. Didn't look like it got it. But they're calling it a jump ball right now. So it is going to be St. Francis possession on the arrow, but they're going to lose the possession arrow now.
That's a big call if this game tightens up. The possession arrow. Take a look here and let's see if we can see it.
I don't think it was actually that close to hitting the rim.
It's hard to tell from the angle that we had. Bottom line, it doesn't matter what we think. The reality is the officials called what they called, so that's the way it is.
Jordan Thornton called for a carry. It's a St. Francis turnover. So that's a big turn of events right there. You go from getting a free possession after a shot clock violation to losing the possession arrow and then immediately turning it over.
On a bad turnover. Yeah, that's just let the offense do its thing.
So Olivet has the ball up by 10, and they're going to lose it out of bounds. This thing's starting to get a little sloppy. Contant couldn't handle that.
That's good for St. Francis right now because this game's really, the momentum of this game right now favors St. Francis. And the more they can keep it this way, the better for them. Transition going, kind of forcing Olivet into some sloppy plays. It's good for St. Francis.
Thornton gets it into Howard.
Well, one of the big keys to them getting back to where this game's a 10-point game is Ian Morrison. Now he's on the bench, so who's going to pick up that scoring? Be interesting to see how long Morrison sets out.
Terrion Howard picks up the scoring a little bit with a 3-ball, and the Saints are within 7. This is as close as it's been in a while. Now a quick steal, Hughes to Thornton, who lays it in.
Again, just the whole rhythm of the game right now.
The Saints are within 5. Schlafly in some trouble. He gets it away to Contant. And across half court. Here's Schlafly making a move to his right, kicking it outside. Bounce low to Nick Reed.
Yeah, you got to think it's going to come back to Reed somehow here.
Dominguez out to Schlafly. Open look, 3-ball. No good. Rebound tipped around, but Olivet pulls it in and throws it away. Contant couldn't hang on. Given up to Antonio Hughes, and the Saints can make it a 1-score game. They put the ball in the basket on this possession. Badalassi working around Bland, lays it up and in.
Nice job, Badalassi getting it going here in the second half, and those free throws kind of getting them uncorked in the first half. And right now, again, that the rhythm of this game just totally in St. Francis's favor.
9 points now for Badalassi. Foul called on Jordan Thornton. That's his 3rd. Saints are going to pull some guys in off the bench. Ian Morrison will hop back into the game. But first, we're going to take a break. It's a media timeout. 13:24 to play in the second half. Olivet 45, St. Francis 42. We'll step aside for a moment. Back in just a minute with the continuation of this one. Saints on a roll. It's St. Francis basketball on the USF Sports Network.
There's a call to be answered. The spirit of competition is still alive inside. The desire still drives. The phrase student athlete has a great ring to it. Lasting friendships are ready to be made. You just want to keep playing. Game on. Get in the game at playnaia.org.
This game has, over the last few minutes, gotten a lot more exciting. St. Francis was down by 14 here in the second half. They've cut that deficit to just 3. 45-42 is our score. And the Saints have gotten out and running, and they're starting to make some of those open opportunities.
They've created kind of havoc on the basketball court. And Olivet hasn't responded to that havoc that's been created by the aggressiveness St. Francis has been playing with. How many turnovers have the Olivet guards had here in just the past few minutes? And Reed has not really had many touches.
Reed touches it here, but loses the ball, knocked away by Hayden Witt on the floor. Reed dives on top of the ball and calls timeout. So Olivet will maintain possession after this 30-second timeout. And the way the game is going right now, Olivet really did have to get that ball back, so Reed was wise enough to call the timeout once he fell on top of it.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see they come out of the possession if Reed gets the ball back again. And you can bet he's going to obviously be trying to go to the rack. Notice they had him in the low post that time trying to score. Reed's such an intelligent basketball player. Let's see if he gets a touch here, if St. Francis tries to collapse on him. And you see him, and that time he just did good defensive play. Witt getting over there to stop him from turning to that left shoulder where he's just deadly.
Nick Reed is a 24-point per game scorer. He's got 12 in the first half, but only 2 ever since. So the Saints have done a nice job shutting him down, even with Ian Morrison in foul trouble and not able to play aggressive D on him.
Nice job taking away. They were looking for the lob to Reed on that play.
Reed guarded by Hayden Witt. The shot is blocked, but a foul is called.
How about the patience he plays with, just squaring up to the basket, looking to do what he can. Sometimes you'll see him go straight up with the jump shot. That time feeling it's a little quicker than Witt, able to put it to the deck and go to the basket and draw the foul.
Foul's called on Ryan Peter, his 2nd, and the first foul shot goes through for Nick Reed. He's got 15 points to lead all scorers in tonight's game.
Well, on top of everything else, an 84% free throw shooter.
He's got them both. That stops the bleeding a little bit. We'll see if St. Francis can get back on track here.
Well, this is an important possession because St. Francis now kind of the rhythm taken away by those 2 points scored by Olivet, and let's see if they can have a good offensive possession and keep that rhythm going.
Peter over to Morrison.
Nice.
Morrison from the
Bingo.
elbow knocks down the jumper.
Bingo. He has really done it right here in the second half instead of trying to clear space.
Chris Green tries for 3. He comes up a little bit short, and Morrison grabs the board.
I like this, pushing the basketball up the court.
Thornton pull-up jumper from 2-point range comes up short, and Hayden Witt is called for an over-the-back foul.
Now there's where Jordan Thornton needs to make better decisions. It was 1 on 5. Don't shoot the basketball. Don't shoot the basketball, because chances of an offensive rebound are so slim and none at all, and instead you end up throwing a foul on your teammate.
So it's a 3-point game, and Olivet has the ball, trying to extend that advantage. Saints have taken them out of their offensive rhythm, though, here in the second half. Bland kicks it out to Green, who tries the 3. Green hits on his 3rd 3-pointer of the second half.
Yep, and that's the kind of shooting Green brings to the court. And St. Francis has to know where he's at out there.
He was 1 of 6 on 3-pointers, or 1 of 4 rather on 3-pointers in the first half. 3 of 5 since then. Here's Jordan Thornton trying a 3, and he answers.
Now that's beautiful basketball. Jordan gets it inside, gets the kick out pass back, and then knocks down the 3.
Saints hanging in there, still down by just the 1 possession. Dominguez into the corner for Reed. Reed drives the baseline, hits contact, and we got a blocking foul call on St. Francis. This will go against Ryan Peter.
I'd like to see that one on the replay here. I don't know if we got that or not. You could tell Reed was going all the way to the basket. Everybody knew it.
Foul's on the floor. It's an inbounds play. Reed going back up with it, and he banks it in.
Yeah, you can't let him go to that left shoulder. And watch here. Well, he was there, but then he moved at the last second, and that's why the block was called.
3 fouls on Ryan Peter. Ian Morrison's got 3 as well, and he's got the ball, backing it on Bland, stripped by Reed, and Nick Reed is called for his 3rd foul.
I love what Ian Morrison is doing. He's leveling the playing field. He's taking his time, waiting and reading what decision to make, and he has done it to perfection here in the second half. Just playing slow. Playing slow sometimes makes you quicker, and that's what Ian Morrison has shown here in the second half.
Morrison is 74% foul shooter. Cannot connect on the first. One more shot coming with just over 11 minutes to play in the game. Saints were down by as many as 15 points. Morrison 0 for 2 from the line.
And you got to knock those home.
Bland out to Green. Green's got 12 points on 4 3-pointers in the game. Schlafly kicks it around, back out to Dominguez. Dominguez pull up from the paint, gets the roll.
That's a nice shot by Dominguez. Again, that's good defense by St. Francis. They had no problem with their defense here in the second half. But now you can feel Olivet kind of back in control of the rhythm of this basketball games because they're making shots at the offensive end.
Hayden Witt finds Jordan Thornton and lobs it down low to Morrison. Saints move the ball around the perimeter. 7 seconds on the shot clock. Ryan Peter gets the pass from Morrison. Now down low, Hayden Witt. Back to Morrison. Fires the jumper as the shot clock expires, and he misses off the back iron.
And that's good offense, just unable to knock the shot down.
Bland, turnaround, good.
That's a nice shot by Bland. Straight up with it. A nice move.
St. Francis calls a timeout. Olivet has wrestled that momentum right back away from them. 56-47 our score now. The Saints had cut the lead to 3 points on a couple of different occasions, and now back up to 9. Looking for a spark here. They'll talk things over on the bench.
And here's 2 of the guys coming back in that really helped create that spark for St. Francis, Hughes and Badalasi. And hopefully these guys can get into the basketball game and get that momentum back in St. Francis way.
Well, we talked about how important this game is for the Fighting Saints. If they don't win it, their chances at the conference tournament are over. A win still wouldn't guarantee anything. They'd still need another win they need a lot more help as well. They're still chasing Robert Morris, St. Ambrose, and Olivet Nazarene in the conference. As St. Ambrose and Robert Morris both sit at 8-10, and Olivet at 9-9. Saints are 7-11, and usually you figure 10-10 will get you in. That's off the table at this point, so the Saints are hoping for a little help over this last few games.
Well, everything that happens in the next few games doesn't matter. Tonight's what matters for St. Francis. They have to take care of business here, and everything else is moot at this point until they take care of this. But what got St. Francis back into this contest was kind of creating havoc on the court, picking up the speed of the game, and Olivet wasn't responding to that. All of a sudden, after those free throws by Reed, the momentum has gone back Olivet's favor, and everything's been methodical again, and that is not good for St. Francis. They need to be able to get easy baskets from creating opportunities through pressure.
Olivet takes the floor. Reed, Bland, Green, Schlafly, and Dominguez. Their 5 starters are out there. Saints come out with their 5 starters: Badalassi, Hughes, Morrison, Howard, and Peter. Antonio Hughes pressured in the backcourt. He gets it off to Terrion Howard. Howard over to Hughes. Ryan Peters slows things down a little bit. Back to Terrion Howard, who gets the screen from Badalassi. And a foul called on Schlafly.
Foul called at number 4, Dane Schlafly.
Dane Schlafly called for his 2nd foul.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what he was called for on that play.
So the Saints will start over here, 20 on the shot clock, and this time Schlafly knocks the inbounds pass right back out. They'll inbound it again.
The old thing, you watch the offensive movement by the St. Francis players. Sometimes they're just moving at angles, which is very easy to guard, instead of moving in squares or L's, as we used to say, which is more difficult to guard.
Pietro Badalassi hands it off to Antonio Hughes. Hughes drives, lays it in.
Nice job by Hughes coming off that screen, getting the handoff, and just taking it right to the rack and scoring the layup. And that's the strength of his game.
7 points for Hughes, but a quick answer by Josiah Bland on the other end.
Well, where that one's a problem is he camped down there and got the ball right where he wanted. That was way too easy for him. And because of his size, you can't stop that turnaround.
Howard. Layup is blocked by Bland and kept in bounds by Reed. Nice work by the Olivet defense.
Yeah, Howard better down low when you're going against those 5'8" guys, and there you go. You break down defensively, and all of a sudden it's back up to 12 points.
First time we've really seen Nick Reed get going from the outside in the 2nd half anyway. He's got 21 points in the game, and the lead is back to double digits. Morrison up with the right hand, comes up short. And Morrison picks up a careless foul, battling to get that ball back. That's his 4th.
And they got to have him out on the court. That's just the bottom line. They're going to take him out, get him a couple minutes here, but.
Garrett Jackson back in. Morrison, I don't think is going to be sitting for too long.
Would have been nice to see him try to use the glass down there. A little more effective when he's going off the glass.
So referees have to talk something over before we're able to continue here. Ian Morrison missed the shot. Battling for the rebound with Josiah Bland. He went over the back of Bland. Bland looks like maybe his nose is bleeding, and that's the reason for the delay here. They're getting him cleaned up.
It's interesting, just as we're watching here, we're looking Howard out at half court, and he's just bent over on his knees, putting a lot of energy in on the basketball court. And you wonder if that fatigue from racing up and down the court at the speed that he does is take a little bit of toll on him here.
Especially the way that not just Howard, but the entire team was playing over that stretch when they were able to turn a 14-point deficit in the span of about 5 minutes into a 3-point deficit. And you talked about it at the time. You got to expend a lot of energy doing that. You don't know how it's going to affect you later in the game.
Well, you know teams are going to make a run at you in the 2nd half, and St. Francis is going to make another run before this is all over with. The million-dollar question is if you got the energy to do it and sustain it.
12-point lead for Olivet Nazarene. Reed trying to make it 15, but he misses the 3-point attempt.
You could tell that time not quite in the rhythm. That ball never come down and he wasn't in the rhythm of the shot.
Howard on the drive. Pulls up and passes out. This is Badalassi trying to make a move underneath. Well defended by Reed. Gives it up to Jackson. Garrett Jackson misses on the baby hook. And it's rebounded by Olivet.
Looks like Reed took one in the nose as well. Starting to get more physical down low.
Got a whistle down underneath and a foul called on St. Francis. This goes on Garrett Jackson, and that's his third.
Oh, you watch Garrett Jackson, he always trying to do what he's taught to do.
Inbounded to Bland, who puts it up and in. Nice inbounds play.
Yeah, that's the traditional lob, and it's very difficult to guard.
So Olivet has run the lead back to 14.
And how about the pace of play? It's just never picked up to where St. Francis wants it.
There's Pietro Badalassi. That snaps what had been a 12-2 run. And we've got a whistle blowing against Olivet this time. Foul called on Dominguez. That's his first foul. It's the 5th on the team, but it's a turnover for the Tigers.
You got to hope that this is the run that St. Francis is looking for. Again, you see Howard grabbing his shorts down there.
Approaching the 7-minute mark here in the second half. Saints have trailed by as many as 14 this half. They have trailed by as few as 3.
And Olivet out of that zone into the man-to-man now.
Antonio Hughes makes a nice move to get around Green, but misses the open layup.
Yeah, that's one you needed. That would have cut it down to 10 points. And again, you get the rhythm of everything going your way.
Hughes jumps in the passing lane and takes that ball away. Bounced back to Jordan Thornton, right back to Hughes, and now Badalassi. Badalassi drives, tries to bank it in, but he's called for the offensive foul. Stemming the arm there. Badalassi whistled for his second.
Yeah, you see that one again. He threw the elbow out there.
Timeout called by St. Francis with 6:40 to play. Olivet leads 63-51. And now we're starting to look a little bit like the game appeared in the first half. It's not that St. Francis is not getting their opportunities, they're just not really capitalizing.
And the whole rhythm of the game has changed in the last 4 minutes, where it was kind of helter-skelter earlier. And watch, nice steal. Hughes doing a great job. Now the pass to Badalassi, just watch his left elbow here. And that's what the foul call was called. Now the million-dollar question, was there body contact before that created that elbow throw? On the split decision call. Reality is, went against Badalassi, and he did throw the elbow in there.
That's a little easier to see when you throw that elbow out there. You're not going to get away with that too often. And it's an unfortunate development for St. Francis because they came away with the steal and then things just got a little bit disjointed. They never really had a flow on that possession.
One of the things that happens in basketball so often is when things aren't going your way, you don't get the breaks. And that's kind of the way it is for St. Francis right now at this point in the game. When they started creating the havoc, they got some of the breaks. Right now, they're not getting those breaks. And the season's been kind of reminiscent of that. Every time you think you got something going, this call or this turnover, whatever the case may be. And that's the difference between teams that are having great success and teams that aren't having the success they hope for over the course of a season.
6:40 to go, and Ian Morrison is back in with those 4 fouls, trying to light a spark under St. Francis. See if they got one more run in them. This is Chris Green trying the 3 ball and knocking it down.
Yeah, and he's been the difference here for Olivet in the second half. 4 threes that he's made, and you know that coming in that you can't give him open looks.
The lead is 15, and this match is Olivet's largest of the game.
And it was just 3 just a couple minutes ago.
16 to 4 run for Olivet, and that's a turnover as Jordan Thornton stepped down the sideline.
And again, just those things that just don't go your way.
Here comes Dominguez, shaking off the pressure from Jordan Thornton.
I like the pressure Thornton's putting on. St. Francis in their matchup zone.
Green will try again from the outside. He is unstoppable right now. That's his 6th three-pointer of the game, 5 of them since halftime. 18 points for the senior Chris Green.
And this one has slipped away very quickly for St. Francis.
It's now a 19-4 run for Olivet. Jordan Thornton trying to answer, and he does. A three-pointer for Thornton. He's got 12.
You know, you got 5 minutes left if you want to go to the playoffs.
There's a steal for Antonio Hughes, putting it up. No good, but he gets his own rebound. Out to Howard. He thought about the 3. Instead, it's Jordan Thornton, and he steps on the sideline again.
That time you thought Jordan Thornton should have shot it. Coming in the context of the offense, great ball movement by St. Francis. You thought he'd just shoot that basketball after having hit that previous 3.
Nick Reed looking to get it in and finally finds Chris Green. Five minutes to play. St. Francis needs a few big stops and they need to turn them into buckets on the other end. Three-pointer misses from Tuttle. Morrison grabs the board. Here's Terry and Howard. Out to Pietro Badalassi. Down low, Morrison up with the left hand. He banks it in.
Nice move by Ian Morrison, not dipping the shoulder.
Morrison's got 16, and now here's a trap. They get it away to Tuttle.
And you can see where these Olivet guards struggle with pressure at times.
There's Nick Reed freeing himself up underneath and laying it in for his 22nd and 23rd points of the game. Badalassi. Foul called. And this is going to go on Dane Schlafly.
Foul called on number 4, Dane Schlafly. His 3rd. Team 6th.
Third foul. It's the team's 6th. So the next one will put the Saints at the free throw line. Josiah Bland is back in.
Bland really having a nice second half for Olivet as well. Those turnaround jumpers going down during the one stretch.
He's one of 4 Tigers in double figures scoring right now with 14 points. Antonio Hughes tries a three-pointer, rims out, and the rebound goes to Olivet. This is Luis Becerra Dominguez. Tipped away by Badalassi and out of bounds. It'll stay with Olivet.
Nice hustle by Badalassi getting back to knock away that transition opportunity for Olivet.
Inbounded to Green.
Green huge here in the second half, 5 threes.
And now whittling some clock away as we are under 4 minutes to play in the game. Green with 7 to shoot. Drives on Morrison, and Morrison rips the ball away.
And that was a nice defensive play by Morrison. Taking the contact and not moving.
Badalassi backs down. Throws it up high off the glass, no good. Battling for the rebound. Morrison can't pull it in. It bounces out to Chris Green. And a timeout is called by Olivet Nazarene. 3 minutes, 13 seconds to play in the second half, and Olivet has the big lead 71-56 as the Saints made a good run, but it started to slip away from them.
And you see the faces of the players coming off the floor. You can see that sense of exasperation and not being able to keep this one closer and realizing just what this game means, that their playoff opportunity and the playoff run that St. Francis has had is coming to an end.
And definitely a disappointment for a lot of these guys on the St. Francis roster. Ryan Marks talked before the game about some of the seniors and trying to get them a little extra playing time late in the year because of all that they meant to the program. The seniors who have been here for the last 4 years have been part of some of the most successful teams in the history of this university.
And they have. And you know, you were hoping to send the seniors out on a higher note. Now, this game is not over yet. There's still 3 minutes to play. But the feel the look, the vibe that you get right now is not a good one for St. Francis. And again, you hope to send the seniors out on a better note, hoping to go to the playoffs.
Once again today, one of the big differences has been outside shooting when Olivet seemed to have their backs up against the wall and St. Francis was pushing them to the brink. A couple of made three-pointers turned the game around. St. Francis just hasn't been able to do the same thing because they don't have those outside shooters. They've just had to work so hard for every run that they've made.
Well, one of the things early in the year, they lost Riley Goulet, who is arguably their best three-point shooter, and you take him out of the lineup, and he's a major factor for St. Francis. They lose him to the ankle injury. They just had another player transfer in who you really like is going to help at the 4 spot or the 5, one of those 2 positions next year. And you know, you add them into the mix, you get some recruiting going, you get a junior college shooter in here, somebody could just score or just flat shoot the basketball, and that'll help St. Francis out getting those guys next year playing, then hopefully get a recruit or 2. But to the seniors right now, that doesn't make a lot of difference.
Terrian Howard draws the contact. That Goulet injury that you mentioned, having the 2nd game of the season, and that's supposed to be your best outside shooter. That really changed the way that this team was organized.
It really is, and teams able to guard Bartolozzi and Morrison completely different because he is taken out of the lineup, and you've seen it from a statistical standpoint. You take your best shooter out and you're shooting 29% from 3 on the year, and that's not going to win you a lot of ball games.
Howard makes them both, cuts the deficit back to 15, 2:43 to play.
Kids play hard, they listen to their coach, they do what the coach asks them to do, but you got to be able to make some shots, and that's what St. Francis has struggled to do.
Blocking foul called on Antonio Hughes, his 3rd. And Dane Schlafly will go to the free throw line on the other end. Ian Morrison back in for Garrett Jackson.
You talk about experiencing great run, Ian Morrison.
First free throw is good.
What a 4 years he's had here at St. Francis.
9th on the all-time scoring list. He's been their leading scorer each of the last 2 seasons. Schlafly makes both free throws. Those are his first 2 points of the game.
You know, you look at the score, 75-58, and it's somewhat typical St. Francis. Just
Howard hits the 3.
The amount of points you put on the board, just not enough. 61 points with 2 minutes left. It's hard to win a game at the college level, only scoring 61 points.
Terrian Howard is having a nice night shooting the ball from the outside. That's a good sign from him going forward as Chris Green throws up an air ball on a 3, and now the Saints have a 2-on-2 opportunity. Howard racing in on Green and well defended by Green. He has to pull it out. Jordan Thornton, deep 3, rattles it home.
And Jordan Thornton getting it going here in the 2nd half with some perimeter shooting. The lead cut to 11.
Bland loses control of the ball, still fighting for it, nearly threw it away, but he found Schlafly. Jordan Thornton still on the floor after some contact with Bland, and he's down right in front of us here. That will stop play here as the trainers come out to tend to Jordan Thornton.
Like it might have caught a bow to the facial, the nose area, covering his face.
It's always tough when you're battling for a loose ball. Limbs flying around in every direction, and you just want to keep your head out of the way.
You always worry with the concussion protocol today. If you hope there's no concussion, anything of that nature. Looks like he's all right. You see the great hustle defensively by St. Francis Hughes and Thornton.
I think he like may have collided with the head of Bland.
Yeah, it looked like his nose caught his head.
So a little shaken up, but he's all right. He's going to check out for the moment, but looked like he wanted to stay in the game. Olivet taking their time here on this possession. Shot clock down to 7 as Schlafly makes his move, and Howard is called for the foul, reaching in.
St. Francis trying to pick up the pressure, and Olivet just spreading them out and able to make the passes, and they draw the foul. Very good free throw shooting team is Olivet.
Thornton right back into the game for Ryan Peter. Schlafly misses on the front end of the 1-and-1. The Saints come away with the rebound, trying to make one final push in this game. Still in striking range if they can knock down a few quick shots. Morrison spins to the basket, and he cuts the deficit down to 9.
Nice job by Morrison going right into the defender. Not dipping the shoulder, but leaning into him, and the defender unable to get off his feet to do anything.
Foul called on Jordan Thornton. That will send Dominguez to the free throw line, an 85% shooter.
And St. Francis, that great run in the second half to cut that lead to 3. But again, expending so much energy in the process, you had to take out the guys on the basketball court who had gotten you to that point, and they just got into a funk again scoring, and Olivet blowing the lead back up to 18 points.
That was the 10th team foul, so it is the double bonus, and he makes them both. Saints need a quick bucket here. This is Howard getting to the basket and laying it in. And a timeout called by Ryan Marks. 56 seconds to play. And the Saints down by 9. It's not over, Mike. They've got to force a few turnovers here, though.
Yeah, they have to force turnovers and hope Olivet misses some free throws along the way. Hey, Reggie Miller did it to the Knicks years ago. What do you have, 8 and 9 seconds? 8 points in 9 seconds. Maybe that can happen again, you know.
Well, nothing's out of the realm of possibility here, but again, the Saints need to take the ball away. They can't afford to keep sending Olivet to the free throw line, especially now that it's the double bonus. So no chance to get a miss on the 1-and-1 and take the ball right back.
Nice move by Howard. Getting the layup. You see Olivet not wanting to foul on the play.
Terrian Howard's playing one of the better games I can remember seeing him play in a while.
He's looked good in the second half, and saw him bend over a couple times grabbing his shorts because he put so much energy into this contest.
14 points in the game for Terrian Howard. They get the ball into Schlafly, and he breaks the press. Down to the corner for Bland. And now they'll play keep away. Again, it is Dominguez getting fouled by Hughes, and Olivet's a good free throw shooting team. There's not anybody on the floor that you want to send to the line, but Dominguez is one of the best shooters they've got at 85%. Hit 2 on the last possession, and he'll try to do it again.
Ryan Marks still working the officials, as a good coach does.
Dominguez hits the first here. Morrison comes back in for offense. And the guy you want to foul is Josiah Bland. They tried to. He got rid of the ball quickly. 17 points for Dominguez. Hughes into Morrison. Quick turnaround for Morrison. Can't get the roll. And an immediate foul called on Pietro Badalassi will send Nick Reed to the free throw line. And that may be the final stand for St. Francis.
You watch this Olivet team and you wonder how they're going to be in the playoffs. Not your traditional Olivet team where you see those guys just knock down three-point shooters. A lot more that they try to do with the ball off the deck.
Reed knocks in the first free throw. 24 points for him, so he's hit his season average. And now the Tigers start to pull in some of their reserves.
But Olivet, one of those teams that could beat anybody on any given night.
2 for 2 for Reed. 25 points for him, and Hayden Witt comes on for Pietro Badalassi.
Ryan Marks getting some of those seniors into the game right now, and
here comes Terrian Howard once again, and this time he's blocked, and the shot clock is off. It looks like the Saints will back off.
And they're going to back off, and no fouls here. And
well, depending on what happens tonight in the St. Ambrose and Robert Morris games, this could be a tournament clinching victory for Olivet. It would secure the 8th seed, again, depending on what happens in a few of those other games. But they're going to come away with a victory tonight. 79-68 is our final score. St. Francis goes down to Olivet Nazarene. It is a season split between these two teams. as the Saints took care of them 71-67 back at their place, and the Tigers today come away with their revenge. 81-68 is our final score. St. Francis falls to 10-18 on the year. They fall to 7-12 in conference play with one game still to go. Coming up on Saturday afternoon right here at the Sullivan Center, they'll take on St. Ambrose to wrap up the year. And a good effort from St. Francis in the second half, but they just seemed to run out of gas.
Well, they did. When you put yourself in that deep of a hole in the first half, that's where the problem really was created. Just again, just not able to get anything to go down in the first half, shooting only 29.6% isn't going to win you a lot of games. And trying to dig out of that hole was what St. Francis was trying to do in the second half, and gave it everything they had. Ryan Marks doing a great job, just as you said, just running out of energy to get done what they wanted to do.
We'll be joined by head coach Ryan Marks here in just a second. Again, 81-68, our final score today. Olivet Nazarene defeats St. Francis, and Ryan Marks now joining us. Coach, you fell behind early, made a really nice run in the second half. It just seemed like maybe the team expended a little bit too much energy in the comeback. What did you think of the way things shook out in the second half?
I mean, it did take a lot to come back. I don't think fatigue was a factor, though. I just think turnovers and missed shots, to be honest. Like, eventually you have to have some offensive efficiency. And our guys tried, but I mean, we didn't shoot very well from the foul line. We didn't shoot great from the field. We missed a lot of buddies around the basket, and we had a lot of turnovers. So at the end of the day, that's a lot of possessions where you're not scoring.
It's you look at the shooting percentage at the end of the first half, 29.6%. And it looked like you really tried to change the pace of the game coming out in the second half, bringing the pressure up court. Was that the game plan coming out of the halftime?
Well, I think we needed to get the game more up and down for sure. We needed to extend our defense a little bit, maybe get a little more of an aggressive edge that way, and also really to go inside. It just seemed like I thought we went inside a lot the first half, and it was super physical, and the game was allowed to be played that way both ways. So I didn't think we could grind it out if we weren't going to get any foul calls. We just had to try to get in transition and get our post feeds when the game was a little more open.
It looked like you guys did a great job, that transition game, speeding up the course. It almost made it kind of hectic and kind of a fast-paced game for that short time, and then Olivet comes back with those free throws, and all of a sudden the pace of the game stopped and just slowed down.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the game, the press was good for us. You have to score to get in the press, and we missed a series of some easy ones. We had some turnovers, and so we weren't able to kind of get into the press as much as we did when we were making some baskets during that run.
I just have one more question here. You look at the one more conference game for your kids. The playoffs are done with now. What do you say to the kids, and how do you approach this last game?
Well, I think you have some really good seniors in that locker room. I mean, and obviously this hasn't been the year we wanted, but you look at Ian Morrison. I mean, he's a guy that's won a ton of games over 4 years. Ryan Peter, Jalen Jones is a guy who's been with us a couple years. Hayden Witt, Tommy Parada, who's with us just this year as a fifth-year guy. Those guys are great guys. At the end of the day, we'd like to be playing further, but a huge percentage of teams, they end their season on a loss. So it's the reality.
That's the reality.
The thing that we can do with those guys is we can play a really good game here at home, try to send those guys out on an appropriate note.
Fine. That's all I got. Just a great job, man. What fun to watch you guys, regardless of the outcome of the season, just always the energy that you guys bring to the basketball court and the work ethic of the kids.
Yeah, no, it's a good group of guys. They've been fun, and I would like to coach this group longer than we're going to get to coach them, but it just doesn't work that way.
Coach Ryan Marks, thank you for your time. One more game. Go get them Saturday.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Ryan Marks, the head coach of the Fighting Saints. Saints fall to Olivet Nazarene today by a final score of 81-68. Let's look at some of the final stats for today. Ian Morrison led the way for the Fighting Saints, 18 points, 8 rebounds. Nick Reed had a double-double for Olivet Nazarene, 25 points and 10 rebounds. And one of the issues we talk about, the Saints shot a lot better in the second half, 53% from the field, but overall still just 43%. Olivet shot 49%, and sometimes it's as simple as that. One team makes more shots.
Don't overanalyze this. this one. This one really came down to the first half of play and what happened there. And St. Francis just unable to overcome that lack of scoring ability in the first half. They couldn't get anything to go. And again, 29.6% isn't going to win you a lot of ball games in one half of play. But what you saw of St. Francis in the second half is more indicative of the style and the type of team that Ryan Marks likes to have out on the basketball court.
Well, Mike, as we wrap this one up, like we were saying a moment ago, one game left for these seniors. Some of the most successful seniors in the history of the program, regardless of what happened this year. What are your final thoughts on today and as we look ahead for that one final game for these guys?
You know what, Ian Morrison, what Ryan Marks kind of said it all. There's nothing I can really add on top of that. I guess just from a personal standpoint, you'd like to really see Ian Morrison really just have the game of his life in that last game and go out on a high point because of what he has been able to experience here over his 4 years at St. Francis.
One last game is on Saturday at 3 o'clock. It's against St. Ambrose, and you can stream that as all St. Francis home games through GoFightingSaints.com or the St. Francis YouTube page. That's going to do it for us, though. Thanks for tuning into today's broadcast. Thanks for joining us throughout the season. For Mike Zaworski, for Brennan Walsh, Jessica Walsh, and the entire crew here at St. Francis, I'm Terry Bonadonna. Time to sign off and say good night. We'll talk to you next time.